Mr. Greenspan?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Brady?
Here.
Anna?
Here.
Conley?
Here. I anticipate that Ms. Simon and Mr. Rogers will be here shortly, but we can proceed. Today, we are here for a presentation, an update on the Cuyahoga County Administration Complex. And Bonnie, are you going to start?
I will start. Thank you. Bonnie Tewan, Director of Public Works. Briefly, I'm going to go over the schedule where we are. First of all, on the construction, the demo is complete. We'll be starting foundation work soon. On the design of the building itself, the design development plans, known as the DDs, they have been submitted from GEIS to us. We're in the process of reviewing those. Those are on schedule. For the tenant improvements, design development, the DDs for the tenant improvements, those will be submitted by us to GEIS on June 10th. So generally speaking, we're on schedule, pretty close to schedule. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule on the demo by a few days. So it seems like everything is progressing pretty well with the schedule. So if there's no questions on that, we'll get into the discussions about the interior build-outs.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
If you want discussing the time to discuss the specifics, I was wondering if there were any subcontracting to SBEs during the demolition portion.
I'll have to, Tom, would you like to respond to that? Come up here, please.
Right?
Yeah.
Ours, you're correct, private sector, but I was just wondering if what their, yes.
Tom Churik, yes. We've been able to use the trucking companies, have been minority companies. We did award the steel package to an FBE for the project. It is private, but we did already award those
Right.
to minorities and FBEs.
And you certainly have more latitude than we do as a government entity. So it's nice to hear that. Thank you.
All right, let the record reflect that Mr. Rogers has joined us.
So I will pass this on to Denver Brooker from Vocon and Marianne Lausch. They'll talk about the interior design.
Good afternoon. There's a few items that we wanted to review with you, specifically related to the shell and core of the building. We're going to walk you through the main entrance lobby, the typical elevator lobbies, show you how the lobby on the 4th floor works, and then also take you up to the roof and show you how the roof garden, roof terrace element has evolved over the course of getting this through DD.
So just to clarify that the public lobbies in the building are considered part of the landlord package, but we have a very close working relationship with the GEIS team and with PMC to make sure that all these spaces are also very well integrated with the tenant spaces that we're designing for you.
Very good. So with that, reintroduce you to the entry corner of the building. So we be coming in the main entrance, and as we've talked before, we're coming into a 2-story lobby space. The next image is a floor plan. It's a little difficult to read, but at the bottom left, those are the entry doors we just showed you. You'll go through a vestibule, and then you'll be in the main part of the 2-story lobby space with a long reception security desk that URS is developing the design for. And then we move further, and you see these lines for the security. So everything in gray represents the public lobby zone of the project. And this area that I'm pointing the pointer around right now is the 2-story space. And as you turn and go through the security lines, you're in a 1-story ceilinged area. Then I'm going to take you upstairs briefly. That's still 1st floor. We'll go to 2nd floor. 2nd floor, where the big X is, That's the two-story space. So you look down into the atrium or across this railing outside to East 9th Street. And then Mary Ann?
Sure. If you're familiar with the Board of Revision's operation today, the hearing rooms are scattered. They're not very well clustered together, and the waiting areas are also very confusing. So what we've done here is the elevator lobbies are here. Anyone coming from the Board of Revision will get off the elevators, go right here into a reception area. They can sign in, and then all the hearing rooms are clustered in this space overlooking the two-story atrium. And the waiting area is this zone out here, and then each of the hearing rooms is accessed from that space. The hearing rooms will have a combination of frosted and clear fronts so that you can tell if there's a meeting in there or not, but you can't tell who's meeting, or you can't see any of the exhibits that they're sharing. But this way, there's really good control of who's coming. They get signed in quickly without too much hassle. They're waiting directly in front of their rooms, and they have an overview of the lobby. It also gives them a very bright space for the waiting areas.
All right, and then the next image shows how all this comes to.
There are 7 hearing rooms. There are a mix of rooms. Some are for the commercial hearings, and some are for the residential hearings, but that's the number of rooms that they have today. And we talked about an increase or a decrease in the number of rooms. We're going to stay with the number that they have now, but several of the hearing rooms are located so that if they aren't needed in the future, they can be accessed from outside of the Board of Revision, so they could become shared conference rooms for the building. So that gives us some flexibility as the use of the building could change over time.
Where's the waiting space? I see the rooms.
The waiting space is between the big X and the doors to the rooms. So there's a long shared waiting room, but there'll be seating in front of each of the hearing rooms.
The big X is overlooking the lobby.
Right.
Yes.
The big X is the second story of the space of the lobby.
So the people are just sitting in chairs on the outside waiting to go in?
Yes. It also means that the public areas are separated from the actual activities of the Board of Revision, which is not the case today. If you're going from one part of the Board of Revision staff to another, you have to cross back and forth through some of the waiting areas.
Madam President. Is there a functional reason why the one is turned 90 degrees? It's got a bigger
This guy up here?
Yeah.
Just in order,
There's actually one down the center too.
there's these 2 up at the top, and then there's,
That one right there.
that one's a little bit smaller because we have a mix of sizes. Some of the hearing officers routinely handle large groups and some not. The commercial hearings tend to be larger because they tend to bring more staff and an attorney. The residential hearings are smaller. But there's also the possibility to pull an extra chair or 2 in the room if a group size changes.
How wide's that hallway?
I'm sorry?
How wide's that hallway to have chairs and sitting and baby carriages and strollers and stuff like that?
I can't tell you. I'm not certain how big it is. It's 15 feet maybe.
Yeah.
Madam President?
Mr. Schrein?
Yes.
Mr. Greenspan?
Thank you. These, on the backs of these hearing rooms, the portions that open up to the administrative workspaces, are those key controlled?
Yes.
Okay, so no one can get back there who's not supposed
Right.
to? Okay, great, thank you.
Is that clear on the context? Then,
Is that the sculpture that's going to be there?
it's a placeholder, it's a rendering only.
Okay.
So
Looks
this
like,
is,
looks like one of those DNA molecules or something.
Got an extra chromosome.
Yeah.
It's got 3 chromosomes.
so this is the view that you'll see as you go through the vestibule doors and enter the lobby space with the security reception desk to the right, this tall 2-story wall at the end that we've looked at as a backdrop to possibly a future piece of artwork. If not, it would just simply be this large paneled tiled wall. We have some materials to show you. And then to the right, right about behind where this lady is standing, you would turn to go through the security turnstiles, or the gates. And if we go to the next image, just turning around back where the sculpture is, looking back the other direction, at the far end we see the entrance doors, the reception desk, and then you see the security lines. The glass railing where this woman is standing, that's the area that we just spoke of outside the Board of Revision conference rooms. So there would be lounge seating, waiting area up there at that level. We're using a large scale acoustic panel ceiling. These are 2 foot by 8 foot panels, so they're fairly big, with a random play of indirect, direct lighting fixtures that you can see even on this first floor. We're using a similar kind of random linear approach to lighting in the first floor ceiling, so there's continuity of design between the 2 levels of the ceiling plan. And then just these are the floor of the lobby will be these porcelain tile. Actually, a much larger piece. They're 2 foot by 4 foot panels. Tile technology has changed a lot in terms of being able to do larger format stone-looking tile for a very reasonable price. Very durable, next to no maintenance, because they're not permeable. So this would be the floor, and then the wall that we showed you at the end of the space, dark tile, and this comes in 2 textures. There's one that's kind of this semi-smooth, then saw on that rendering. Go back.
Excuse me, Denver, you still need to speak into the mic if you can.
Sorry. Back one. Back here. You can see in the panel we're showing some ribbed panels. The product comes with, we're still working through the exact disposition of the ribbed panels, but you can see it also comes in a textured panel, so we can add some visual interest to that large wall. And the floor, actually, as you come in, if we go back, I want to go back one more. In the area as you come in, there's going to be a series of walk-off mats. There's a first one in the vestibule, and then a secondary one as you go in front of the security desk. What we find in a lot of these institutional buildings is everyone lays down granite or marble or tile, and then they will roll out the walk-off mats and tape down the edges, and because then people will trip over them. So here what we've done is we're specifying a highly durable carpet that's designed to be a walk-off material, so we don't get any of this rolled out material and taped edges that you often see in public buildings like this. And by the time you reach where the tile is, your feet are dry, no one's slipping and falling. Any questions so far? Okay. I'm going to go back. This is an image just to show you how the light fixtures, this image at the upper right is inset of your lobby. This large photograph to the left shows how those kinds of lights appear from the outside of a building, much as they will in your lobby with a 2-story space. They're very simple, linear fluorescent fixtures, very efficient. And then in the lower ceilings, where they're recessed into the ceiling plane, they'll have an appearance similar to these 2 photographs. And then in the elevator lobbies, just to orient you quickly, wrong image. There we go. in the elevator lobbies, and this is a typical detail at all floors, which is right where we have these 5 elevators, the ceiling in this area will be popped up slightly, and at the perimeter, there will be a cove lighting detail like that we were looking at just a moment ago, like this. So we have this cove light detail, and the ceiling height pops up at every elevator lobby, all floors. So it's a typical detail. Then we wanted to take you up to the 4th floor lobby as well. This will be finished very similar to the 1st floor in terms of the same ceiling tile, the same kind of lighting, and the space has been organized. This door at the south end is where you come off the bridge. There's a little bit of lounge seating, and then there are the security lines, and then you have a pre-function space outside the county council chambers. And all of this opens out and looks directly onto East 9th Street.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I understand that we need a waiting area, but I'm a little concerned about the waiting area, people actually sitting here before they actually cross the security. So they're sitting there for numerous amount of time before they actually go through.
We reviewed that with the sheriff, and they have not identified any concerns about that. We can double check with them, see if they have any issues with it.
I have an issue.
Okay.
I mean, that's the purpose of having security, so if you would please bring that up. So you have people waiting there, and in light of, things going on across the nation, they're just sitting there before they actually go through the
Okay,
security.
I will follow up with the sheriff on that.
I had a question, like, did we figure out, like, by the front door, which way the snow drifts? I mean, if we're gonna be in a position where, like, all the wind blows and blows right into the front door, or is that, do you take that in consideration?
The front door is facing south.
So you shouldn't have a
and-
problem?
And so most of the wind comes off the lake to the north.
Okay. But I concur with Ms. Conwell, that's a good question. I mean, there's an area out here in the Justice Center that you can come into before you get to the security check, but there's like a no waiting area there where
Right.
you can't hang around there. You have to walk right to the security checkpoint.
All right. And then, do I go to-
Can we get these on our monitors, please?
Yeah, those are not.
how many of you?
We don't
not
have them on the
seen-
monitor.
There it is.
No, they're that.
It's been there the whole time. Under this.
This is the roof?
This is the roof.
So now we're up at the roof. And this has evolved really quite nicely over a period of time working with URS, the county, and the roof, the green roof consultant. What we've done is wherever you see the light gray, that represents a hard walkable surface. Wherever you see the green, there's some light, and darker green, that represented planted area. And in terms of the world of these green roof systems, the light green represents a 4-inch planting tray. They come out as 2-foot square modules that, simple terms, simply lay on the roof. There's a number of things you have to do, but they come pre-planted. The darker ones are 8-inch deep trays, and so they allow plants that will grow a little taller to live in those. So what we've done is created a border of larger plants that will grow to like 18 inches, 2 feet high, and separating a series of small little terraces. So you kind of have like 5 outdoor rooms is the way we like to look at them, divided by a perimeter of higher landscape and then bordered by a little lower planting materials. And immediately off the this existing stair tower that came through the roof, we've developed a a shade structure with a trellis element. And we'll see all of that in this next image. It will all look something like this, with this being an actual rendering of a piece of your roof with the shade structure, the higher plant material dividing this room from the next, bordered by the lower planting material, and then potential for some kind of benches or seating up here. These other images are example images of the kind of range of plant materials that could be expected on the roof, from the low trays to the higher trays.
The HVAC systems looked like they were almost in the center of the roof.
I'll go back to the roof plan. The HVAC units, a combination of things going on here, but this big unit here, this one here are the primary pieces. You have some other equipment in the middle. This is stair tower 1, stair tower 2, and the elevator. This one right here is the elevator that accesses the roof. So kind of the middle zone of the roof moving north is all of the equipment, and then we're locating the green roof terrace to the south, kind of the southern third of the roof. It's separated by a screen wall from all the equipment, so you're not actually going to look at it. You may see it peeking above the screen walls, but you're separated from the equipment.
I guess I was under the impression that the way the original drawing showed the the northeast corner was where all the HVAC systems were going to be, and that we were going to have a more dominant presence with the green roof on there. This is down to a third, and I thought the renderings that were shown to us had it almost half of or more was going to be dedicated to the green roof.
This represents well, at least in the time I've been involved with it, represents the general amount of square footage of area of roof dedicated to either green or terraced elements. Certainly over the period of time, the core has been developed so that the units land above where the shafts make the most sense. So there's that kind of coordination, and we'd always favored the south side because that's where the sun and the potential views were, since there's a tower to the north.
Is there maintenance costs in connection with the plants, and do they rotate, or is it an expensive proposition?
The plants that are selected for this are mostly succulents, and they can withstand the really dry, sunny conditions on the roof. So they're expected to do pretty well up there with very minimal maintenance.
Just, I somewhat vaguely remember some of the concepts Councilman Tron's talking about. I thought that right now this green space ends a considerable distance from the edge of the building as well. Correct? If I had to guess, we're probably 25 feet on the south and 10 feet from the west, right?
We're about 10 feet from the south edge, and
I guess the point was, I think we were maybe under the impression this area was going to be much larger than it is.
the other element that we were also working with, just in terms of more safety than anything else, is that along the perimeter there are a number of tie-off points associated with window washing equipment. So there's elements that actually poke up through the roof, and so we, in terms of developing this and balancing the design, chose to create a perimeter maintenance zone, and then brought the terrace back from the edge. And then what we've done to balance that in terms of the way it looks is bordered the perimeter with the deeper trays, which will allow for the higher plantings and disguise the parapet wall. There's kind of a number of things that technically have happened as we've developed this, and we've balanced all of those issues to come up with a design we're showing you here today.
The chillers look like they're right in the center. Is that indication where they are? I mean, literally within short distance of where the people are going to having their quiet lunch, and they're going to have the chillers going on, making all kinds of fun noises right behind them, will they not be?
Yes.
That's what
The rooftop equipment is up here, and it will be, it will make noise. And in terms of its location on the roof, there's probably not, you know, let's say you just rearranged everything, and you could. The noise factor, whether the equipment's on the far side of the roof and your roof terrace is on the other, it's the same once you're at this level. And there's also a lot of other ambient noise in terms of street traffic that will be part of being on this roof. We're not going to get around the noise factor with the equipment.
I understand that, but it wasn't where I don't believe it's where we've ever been shown these until this drawings.
I don't know if we have this on our computer. Do you have the very
Pick it up later.
Any other questions?
How many usable square feet are there going to be on the roof, and are any of those usable square feet part of the basic rent package?
Each of these, and we'll kind of divide this so you get a sense of scale. Each of these first 4 rooms to the east are 18 feet by 18 feet. So they're a nice sized terrace. And then the one to the far west is 30 by 20, so a larger terrace space. So overall, we're looking at 2,000, probably 3,000 to 4,000 square feet of paved area, and then the balance is green space. So in terms of the walkable area to the green area, it's I think it's in the realm of almost a 50-50 split. We could run the numbers for you. And then your second part of your question was how that's factored into the base lease, and I cannot.
This square footage is not included in the rentable square footage for this. One thing too, there's been questions about the square footage. This square footage is very similar to what was shown in the renderings before. It just was reconfigured a little bit different. So the square footage of pavers versus planted area, the ratio is the same compared to what that was shown on the renderings too.
The west wall, is that still glass? Up here in this rendering that we're looking at on the top? I think at one point you'd shown us some drawings in the renderings of glass on the top.
And you had the crown on
Oh.
I
You
thought-
mean
I
the
thought-
screen wall that extended?
Screen wall, it started in the lower left-hand southern corner and went all the way up on the, I thought, on the west wall.
No, it does not. I don't have a full image of the building here, but that was at the beginning, several months ago when we started this. There were 2 kind of conceptual approaches to the exterior, one of which did include the glass screen wall that extended beyond the roof line. And then there's the current design that we're working with that involved the metal frame. And yes.
I don't remember the transition.
I don't remember, I definitely remember they would have the glass wall, I think it was like 2 sides to break the wind, to make it more usable. I think other people should remember that. You remember that?
remember suggesting glass wall.
Yeah, and you saw, yeah, it was,
Show us a picture.
yeah, you showed us a picture of it. Or maybe it wasn't.
The very first, the one that you're referring to. But this is the design that we've been showing you over the last couple of months, and this version, as you can see, involves a metal frame around the glass curtain wall area, including at this corner. And what you're remembering, there was a scheme that we were looking at the same time that would not have had metal panel here, and the glass would have kept going past the roof. It was part of another design concept. But this is, and I'll go back. Here we are. So this is the way the building looks right now, what we've been looking at over the last couple of months. It's different than what I know what you're talking about, but it changed several months ago and went this direction.
I just thought that was a big deal in terms of the ability to use the roof, that would break the wind or something. I don't know if other people remember it that way, but.
At the time,
I remember Jack was saying he'd gone to a building
Well, in
somewhere or
Chicago,
other,
you
yeah.
have plenty of buildings up on the roofs where they have the glass walls, so you can actually utilize that space as opposed to having it blowing across the top of that.
right, and I think in order for it to be most effective, we would have needed way more of that than we were showing in that original concept rendering, because it was only just at that corner.
I thought you showed the whole south wall and the corner.
No, it was just the corner of the building.
I don't mean south wall, I'm sorry, the west wall and the corner.
No, it was just the corner.
Yeah, remember that? So that's gone.
You got your,
It looks like this.
are you off the?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Any other questions about the roof or the lobby spaces?
Yeah, why did it go, good question, why did it go away? I mean, we live in Cleveland, it's somewhat windy.
There were
I don't think I can wear one of my gorgeous hats up there and keep it on.
I'll keep both my hairs.
Again,
Lot of years
there were two design concepts back in probably December that were developed. One that had that particular expression and one that looks very similar to what you're seeing today. And over the course of several meetings, it was our understanding that this was the direction that was favored and was the one that was pursued.
I began to wonder, is this going to be the building that we thought we were going to get? Because things keep changing, that maybe it's just me.
Well, who made the decision to remove the glass?
Right.
The glass was, I'm not. The glass that we're referring to reflects a design scheme that, it's hard for me to point to here without the drawing, but that reflected an approach where this corner element would have continued to the sky as glass. And the alternate scheme was to make something that was a little more unified, as we're showing here in terms of the west side of the building and the south side of the building, divided by a transition strip associated with the bridge. This scheme, I think, holds together better as a design scheme in terms of the way the building presents itself than the other. And there was some discussion about that glass extending beyond the roof, but I don't think that at any point that it became the reason to maintain that design approach. It was never discussed that way. And I think we did have some discussions about it being a windscreen. We also had some discussions with caution to say that, you know, it's only on two sides. It's not going to capture all the wind. It's more of an architectural feature. It was always looked at as that way when it was initially proposed as a concept.
Could I ask who's making these decisions for us?
I guess, you know, there were two different concepts of the exterior of the building, and the one that showed the glass projecting up was a different rendering of what the exterior of the building would look like. As the different options were presented, they were presented to you, and from this group, this option was the most favored by this group.
Bonnie, see what you're dealing with here is we don't build buildings for a living. So we rely on our team to inform us as to what's happening here. I personally don't care if there's glass or not, but there are people here that care very much and spent some time making sure that that glass was there. And actually spent a lot of time making sure that the pictures that were shown us was what the rooftop was going to be. And quite honestly, I thought there would be some grass or something where you could somewhat spread out a little bit more. So all I'm saying is decisions are being made. The looks on certain people's faces up here should tell you that there's a problem because they didn't know the glass was gone. And by looking at this, it doesn't tell me if the glass is going to be there or not because, again, I don't do this for a living. The angle could be different. It could have been told to us at some point in time, oh, by the way, there's no glass up there. And it was a point made by, especially Mr. Shrine and some others, that rooftop would needed shielding from the wind. And I do recall Chicago and some of the buildings he'd been in. So I don't know where you go from here. Probably would look horrible with glass up there. But again, this is something I think we should have known about.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Greenspan?
So I'm assuming then, if it appears we've got a smaller footprint on the roof, glass, no glass, smaller geographic footprint, that the cost is coming down?
No, the footprint is exactly the same. It's configured different. The square footage is still the same. The ratio between the tiles and the planning is still the same as what was originally.
I'd have to maybe look at Mr. Rogers' drawings. I remember it being larger, but, so without the glass, then if the glass is not there, then my original statement, then at the end of the day, the building will cost less. Because we were presented, we discussed this and voted on it, a building that had additional features that are no longer there. So if those features are no longer there and those features were baked into the original cost of the structure, then our cost is going to be reduced.
No, that's not true. The glass was shown as an option for one of the renderings of the building itself, and since we're going with a different look to the exterior of the building, that's included in the cost here. So there are no reductions in cost at this time.
So then that cost savings was spread into another feature of the building? There obviously would be cost savings if you had it on one and you don't have it on the other. So where'd those costs get shifted to?
It's a different look. It's the panels versus the glass versus the accent pieces.
So the panels then cost more than the previous renderings?
I can't answer that.
All right, just trying to understand the difference.
Madam Chair? In moving forward, just wondering if we could have, I don't know how many more of these sessions that we're going to have, that they could bring what's new and what's previous presentation, because it always seems to change. So I don't know if in moving forward we could have everything that has been changed or decided to be changed last meeting. That's a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of Mr. Gallagher's question, who's making the decisions?
Well, again, you know, we're progressing with a look from an architect. And these renderings have been presented to this group before in a couple of different meetings. So this version is what has been presented on several occasions.
Madam President, if I could ask,
Yes.
are we unable to change it? I mean, building hasn't been built yet. I mean, if people wanted to go back to the glass, is there a reason why we couldn't do that?
I think I'm going to help you, Dallas.
Why is that a hard question? I don't understand.
No,
why
I
that's-
think,
I seem to have stumped the band. I wasn't intending to.
if you look at this, and I hate to use the word the skywalk, because we were going back and forth with that, and they had to change the look of this to accommodate the skywalk staying. The original one, if you can remember, had the county seal on the side, and that went away too. I don't know who made that decision, but, probably because we bumped out that front to cover the main entrance. But this was presented to us as the best look. So to go back to the glass, I think it would change the whole look of the building on the horizontals. So when you looked at the two of them, this was the best look, but we didn't realize that the glass went way upstairs. I don't know could the glass be 5 feet high and not?
Well, we're here in terms of the way the building looks, and a lot has progressed in terms of the windscreen element. If we separate the look of the building from the windscreen element as a functional item, you certainly could add windscreen elements at those terraces. Maybe it's not actually at the building perimeter, but it's against the perimeter of the walkable area. So it doesn't become a feature on the exterior the way you see the building, but it is a pragmatic addition to the terrace experience. And if that's a direction that ends up needing to be pursued based on this meeting and what Geis can do, then that would be what I would recommend as a way to handle it.
And I'm sorry I called you Dallas, you're Denver.
Right. Well, see, we started a thing mixing up names.
Call him McGinty.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Miller.
So,
Madam Chair, Director, if we were to assume the current configuration, no glass, what provides safety protection for the perimeter of the building in the roof area?
thank you for that question. That's exactly what I was going to say. That parapet by code has to be 4 feet tall. So if I'm 5 feet, that puts it right here to begin with. So it's not like that parapet's going to be down here where you can overlook it. It's still, 4 feet high. So there's some protection there because of that parapet.
And that goes all the way around?
Yes, that's required by code.
And what?
No, it's what you're seeing here in this rendering.
What material is it made out of?
It's actually the membrane roof wrapped up the backside of the parapet wall. So it's sealed. It's the backside of what you're seeing here, the metal panel. So this is the street-facing side, and then the other side is the other side of the top portion of this wall, and it's the membrane roof wrapped up and then capped off with metal coping.
So no one's going to be able to walk up close enough to look over. You're going to be 10 to 12 feet, and in some spots, based on that one drawing, 20 feet away from the wall.
That's correct.
I guess that wasn't my expectation of how we're going to experience it up the upstairs. But
Glass. You don't walk outside.
I don't know that I'd want it.
you had designed the one down at the east bank of the flats too, I believe, as I recall. Looks like it's a little more engaging to look out the water than this would be, as far as from the edge.
This is actually a much larger roof terrace experience than the Flats project. The Flats project was simply one corner of the roof. This is definitely, I think, a bigger vision. The idea is that more people would utilize it on a daily basis.
Well, are there any other, I mean, I think we still go back to the same
Madam Chair.
question. That
Madam-
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Duran.
Is the public going to have access to this, or is this strictly employees?
The roof access is intended to be for county employees only, and like most of the doors in the building, you have to swipe to get through, so there's a record. You know, you can't just, even if you get to this level, you can't let yourself outside unless you're a county employee that's been coded for roof access. So the intent also is that it would be available seasonally, so that there would be a certain point in the year where employees could not access the roof.
Where the smoker's going to, no. No.
Madam President,
Yes.
what I would like to offer to council is an opportunity. I want to revisit some of the things I've heard.
Okay.
And I'd like to look at some of these aesthetic issues and look at what the options are. Because I know we're talking about the building as it is. The building as it is does not exist.
Is
right?
what?
It does not exist yet. So I think to say, well, the building the way it is now, it's a schematic now. And I want to look at it. And I've seen some things that I want to look at that I have not seen, quite frankly. So I can't speak for council, but I think council would be, I think we've got to figure out a way to make sure that when there's aesthetic alterations, that they are not presented to council as a foregone conclusion. It's not a fait accompli, that there can be a little discussion about options. And I just want our team to go back and talk about the options. And
That's
then,
fine.
and then represent to you about what options are still doable under our current budgetary constraints. And if there's a cost for certain things or doing them differently, then we'll cost them out.
Yeah, I think that's where we are, Mr. Brady.
Just before we ended this part up, I just want to say I thought the most, I remembered it the way most people did remember it, so I don't know how we could have remembered it wrong. But I think the most important, or one of the most important things I heard today was the comment that Councilman Conwell made, because that really doesn't make any sense for to be a space for people to come in, bring a bag, whatever, sit down. I'm not even sure what the purpose of the space is, what they're waiting for. And the issue is just trying to figure out how to take up that space because it's so dead anyway, and that's obvious. Really, there shouldn't be an area where people can sit and bring stuff in and sit there without having gone through some kind of a metal detector or some kind of security. I think you were really picked that one right out. It's important.
Okay. I think, I'm not sure where we go from here. I mean, I totally concur with Mr. Fitzgerald. I mean, we need to come together on some of these issues.
I guess what I would propose is that we go back and do some comparisons to what was originally in the conceptual drawings, and then what we have here now. And if there's some options, we could show those. And if there's a difference in cost, we can price those out if that is in fact. So we'll present that, and we'll share it with PMC. They've been involved with this. Also, and we talk about these things during our biweekly progress meetings, so your staff and PMC and us, we can all get together and talk about these issues.
Okay. Is this complete your presentation? And when do we anticipate the next update on the complex? June 11th will be the next update? Okay. All right. Anything else as to the update on the complex? Any other miscellaneous business before we have 5 minutes before our regular meeting? Yes.
I do want to add, we did meet with our, I apologize, I don't have the exact term for it, but the committee for, the county committee for accessibility, and we did meet with them, and we shared our tenant improvements the way we have them laid out right now, and they're going back and they're reviewing them, and they'll get comments to us. So we've had some good open lines of communication with them, and they seem very pleased to date with how the plans are designed.
All right, anyone sign in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order? Let's take, it's 5 minutes to 5. We'll take till like 5 or 10 after, take 15 minutes, and we'll start about 10 after. Okay, all right, we stand adjourned until 10 after.